All right. Hello, everybody. It is July 8th here, and just getting off to a start. Wanted to welcome all the new members. I know we did our big 4th of July blowout special, and a lot of people jumped in on that. So welcome aboard. And I'm going to actually be doing a couple of different videos. I'm not sure if I'm going to do them video or live webinar, probably live webinar or live Zoom call. Just kind of going through with new members, going through the membership, showing you, what all is in there, how to access it all that. Probably be doing that next week. But this call is kind of an ongoing call. It's every Thursday, unless sometimes it gets moved around different times of the week, but generally it's Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And this call is for anything that you need. It's for anything related to SEO, anything related to marketing, anything related to Kartra, business in general. I've got a lot of background, a lot of experience across the board in all kinds of different businesses. So I've worked, and that comes from working with so many people for so many years. I've probably just about seen it all at this point. So not too much I'm not familiar with in all industries. Some are just like you wouldn't even believe some of the stuff I've seen and been involved with. Just crazy stuff. So there's no bad questions. No, Roger, way beyond you even. But there's no bad questions. The only bad question is one that you don't ask. There's no such thing as being too beginner. We're here for all levels, and believe it or not, the questions that you ask will help others, because there's a lot of people that won't ask questions. So I know a lot of people in the last few weeks, we've been going on to topics that people were asking about and stuff I wouldn't even have thought of to bring up. But, it's all good stuff. So if you don't ask, I don't know what you're interested in. So I'm not sure, how to best help you. So Roger, go ahead. You got your hand up there?
Hey, John, I don't want to take too long on this.
Sure.
Because usually you start these meetings with some amazing marketing theme, and I don't want to derail that with this question, but I just want to get this in there.
Sure.
I know that pre-Kartra, you had some WordPress experience. Imagine for the rest of the people here, you're a wedding photographer and you do shoots where you take like 50 to 100 photos, the cold better ones, in individual weddings, and you have 50 weddings, and you're just going to put them all in a membership site on WordPress, and you need a gallery. Okay. I had a gallery system that was part of a forum software, and it was superb. It was really good. The rest of the product wasn't, but the gallery was great. In WordPress, I am really struggling to find a gallery where it's easy to segregate photo shoots. WordPress seems to just pile them all into one library, and you have to click the individual ones to add them to they call a gallery a display, where I call it a separate collection. If you happen to know, great, and if you don't, totally understand.
I don't off the top of my head know a particular plugin, and that's the thing with WordPress, it's all about plugins. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking for plugins, WordPress has an internal search feature, and the trick to search in any aspect is knowing what to ask for. So if you go in there, like I'll do this in WordPress, I'll run a search in there looking for a particular plugin, and it's all about the functionality of it. The more detailed a description you can put in, the more it knows what to kind of show you. WordPress, their search function is not near as intense or as good as like what Google is. So you might try running this on Google.
I've already been evaluating the top 6 galleries Just
Okay.
if you happen to have had experience. It was a long shot because,
Yeah.
we're a little more sophisticated than WordPress these days.
Except
for moi.
Yeah. Now, one of the things like with photographers, and I've seen this, I don't know if this is a WordPress thing. I think it might be some sort of a custom platform just specifically for photographers, because most industries have their own websites set up for, for the industry. Like I know dentists have, I forget the name of it, but there's a platform that a dentist can go to get a website and a complete marketing campaign all built in. I think it's called Demand Force. And it is, I mean, it blows anything away that you can imagine. For you to custom build that, it would be ridiculously expensive. And I'm certain that they've got this for photographers because I've seen them do it. I've seen the sites. I haven't built one, so I'm not familiar with the name of it, but long story short is there's probably an industry type site available to do exactly what you're talking about. Because one of the things with photographers, it's privacy. Some people don't want their photo shoot public, so they want it in a private password protected directory, and they do that. So you could do that with you could do it with Kartra. You could do it also just by creating folders inside of WordPress. If you had the, let's see, you could there's ways to do it with HTML. We used to do it old school like that, and we would just create a bunch of folders, and then you could just pipe in 100 images into the folder, and it would create an index library for you, and you could password protect it. But like I said, I'm pretty sure you're going to find an industry platform that has exactly what you want, probably for a fraction of the cost and the headache it would do.
As long as it's not a software as a service, I have to host it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure there's one that I'm familiar with. I think it's called, I'll have to think about that and get back to you, but there's one that I know of that I've used before, and it almost uses like the Facebook framework. It creates a community, and you can have users in there, and the users can have access to certain directories, and then you can.
By framework, you mean like a parallel structure, but not actually affiliated with Facebook, right?
No, it's not affiliated with Facebook, but it's the same framework of a foundation that they use. So it's got a very similar look. You can have users, they can friend each other, and you can turn on and off all of these different features if you want to strip it down. But they also have a bunch of plugins to make it actually more feature rich than even Facebook. But galleries is one of their things that they have. Cool. So if I don't remember during the call, email me and I'll look it up, because I've put like 3 of those sites together for people. So
thanks, John.
Sure, absolutely. And I didn't have like a particular topic. I know over the last few weeks I've had like certain things that I wanted to cover just because they were so important. But like I said, this is an open call for you guys for whatever you need, and feel free to just jump out with whatever that might be at any point in time. So, and again, it could be SEO related, it could be Kartra related, it could be WordPress related, all of that. So WordPress, one thing about WordPress, and this is something I learned when I first got into the hosting business back in the mid-90s, is whenever there are students at large, there's a lot of hacking activity. and I don't know what the deal is, but my mentor that kind of showed me the ropes and hosting and all of that, he always told me that. He goes, he feared spring break and summertime, and it was no disruption. Anytime there was ever students that were cut loose on the world, there was hacking done. And, our servers were always under attack during those times. And he was really good at fending them off. But for those of you, which is a lot of you that have WordPress sites, WordPress is one of the biggest platforms. It's a great platform, but because it's big and it's so well known, it also happens to be one of the biggest targets for these hacking idiots. So to secure your website is pretty important. And by default, WordPress has the most ridiculous thing. By default, it creates the username of admin. So right there, the hacker already knows your username. So they've already got one of the three things they need to get access to your site. The other thing is they more than likely know the address to log into your admin, because it's generally WP-admin. So you can change both of those pretty easily. So that's something you might want to consider. And, if you're creating a new site, you should probably do that. And we're going to start doing that. I got kind of lazy on some of that stuff, and I've got a ton of clients that still have the admin user. So I'm in the process over the next couple of weeks of going through and deleting those users. What you have to do is when you log into WordPress, you create a new admin user and call it something unique. Even if it's your name, that's a unique user, as long as it's not admin, right? And then give that new user admin privileges, and then log out of your normal admin and log back in with your new admin user, and then delete your original admin user. That's how you get rid of it. And it will ask you if you want to transfer all of the stuff that was associated with the admin to the new one. You can say yes to that, and that will fix that problem for you.
I created a new site yesterday, and it let me create whatever I wanted to be the creator. It didn't make me say admin as the first person. Yeah, I think they've changed that because of that very thing, John. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. I mean, yeah. It's funny and timely that would happen like today. just as I'm like saying, all right, enough's enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm creating a site for my mom, and literally it asked me create it, and it asked me for the name and username, and I went in there, and the two usernames are me and my mom. That's it. There's no admin.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe
that's how I got hacked in 2017, and Cynthia Lay had to completely rebuild my website.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is if you've got an old WordPress site, if you're at all familiar with FTP, what you want to do is you want to FTP into the back and take a look at your files. Take a look at your file structure. If you've got a bunch of weird stuff in there that doesn't make sense, chances are you've had a hacker visit you and they've planted backdoor seeds. And these things can lay at rest for days, months, even years before they trigger and all hell breaks loose. So look in there if there's a bunch of like weird named files that don't look right, and if they're owned by different users or no user at all, anything that looks suspicious. And you can go into YouTube and you can YouTube videos like, what do WordPress files look like? Standard WordPress files. And they're pretty obvious. They stand out pretty obviously when they're not right. So that's something you want to take a look at. Other things you can do too is you can contact your host and have your host run a virus scan on your site. Have them look for for injections and all of that. They can run that. They can look for malicious scripts and then give you a full detailed report if anything's out of order. And then you go to your web developer and have a conversation and say, look, this needs to get cleaned up. If you don't know how to do it yourself, just go to your web developer. They know how to deal with that. But you want to take care of that stuff before the hack actually gets, implemented, because then it's a disaster. You're talking about possibly having to rebuild your entire site. Now, you might think a backup might fix this, but if you've got hacked files that have been in there for a year and you don't have a backup that's beyond that, you're kind of still screwed. You still have to go through and fix all that stuff. So that's something you want to keep in mind. You know, security of your website is pretty important. You know, that's the face of your business. You don't want somebody hacking in and taking control. And worse than that, we had a client last week that she kept telling me that her site was redirecting traffic to a porn site. And I went in there and I could not see that. I could not see how, you know, that even happening. And, you know, I kind of half thought she was losing it because I couldn't reproduce it. And I said, look, I said, show me how this is working. We got on Zoom and I got to watch her do it. And I was like, oh my God. She didn't go to her actual site. She went to Google to access her site. She went to Google and typed in her domain name, clicked on it, and then clicked on her site through the Google results. And, you know, that just really brings to mind how users work. There's so many people out there that are at, you know, at that level that they don't know how to even get to their site. They don't know they can just put that in the browser bar and just go there or bookmark it or, you know, whatever. It kind of blows my mind, but that's how she was getting to her site. And I could see when she went through Google, went to the site, it was truly redirecting her. And we went in, we ran the scan on the site, and it found a couple of injections in files. And when I read through, it was actually taking the referrer, and there was a code built into the site that said, if the referrer is Google, then do this. And I'm like, holy shit. How in the hell did that happen? But, you know, somebody got in there, somebody put that in her code, and it was in there. So Roger, yeah, go ahead.
Actually, Richard had his hand up before me. I have a different question. So when you circle back.
Okay, Richard, go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. On security, a plugin I found a long time ago was limit login attempts. And you can set it so that if anybody tries to log in more than three, you know, you set the number, but I set it somewhere around between 3 and 5. It locks them out
Yeah.
for however long you want. And that, you know, unless they actually know your password, they're not going to get in through just, you know, brute force access or whatever.
Yeah.
And I've never used admin because you told me that 10 years ago. So it's
yeah, no, that's a great plugin if you're on a host that's not very secure. Like we do that at the server level. We block people at the server level that try brute force. We also run iTheme security on all of our hosted sites. So we've got that plugin that does a whole bunch of stuff to prevent hacking. But the other thing is the hackers don't have to access your site with the username and password. Sometimes there's plugins with vulnerabilities that will allow them to get in and inject files right through the plugin. And you want to be careful of that. So standard procedure, get rid of any plugins that you don't absolutely have to have. Don't just load your WordPress site up with plugins. Make sure the plugins that you do use are fully supported. Like if you go and you look and the last update on a plugin was 5 years ago, get that thing out of there. Either find another plugin that does the same thing that's supported, or do without whatever that plugin was doing, because that's a vulnerability. Get rid of old themes. If you've got a bunch of themes in your site, you really only need the one theme that you're running, and you can get rid of the rest of them. I think Google might, or WordPress might require that you have two. I just heard that recently, but I know on many of my sites, I've deleted all of them except for the main one that I'm using. We usually use the Beaver Builder theme, and that is heavily updated. That's got updates all the time. So the updates make sure that security patches are in place. WordPress is always updating because of that. You know, it's constantly under attack. There's some very smart little bastards out there that are just poking every little hole at it, seeing where they can get in, and they're constantly having to update it and patch those holes. So, you know, keep everything up to date, keep your plugins up to date, get rid of anything you don't need. Make sure that they're, you know, just make sure your site's up to date and secure. Yeah, Roger, go ahead now.
John, I had a second question. I was just
okay.
My main question is that was listening to somebody talking about how to rank in Google, and he said one of the important things you need to do is go to Google's quote unquote search console unquote. I thought, if Google has a search console, that's got to be a giant landmine that says step here. Do you know what that is, or I've never heard of it before?
Well, they've named it many different things. Originally, it was called Webmaster Tools, but it's basically, it's a thing for the webmaster to be able to check the site. And at first, it was kind of a landmine. It was, you know, I tried to keep people out of there. There are still some tools in it that I believe are landmines, like the disavow tool is in there. I wouldn't touch that thing with a 10-foot pole because it doesn't make sense for a normal business owner to be doing disavow, right? But checking things like for broken links and all that, it's a set of useful tools for any webmaster to make sure your site is functioning properly. Now, Google also puts out parameters on best SEO practices, and it's complete bullshit. It's what they want you to think, and it's what they want you to do so they can put you into a box and know who you are. So I basically do anything but what they say as far as that goes. But they're webmaster tools. It is actually a useful tool to, you know, to check things on your site, make sure your site's indexed properly. It can check and make sure that your robots file is functioning right, and people can get where they need to go on your site and all of that.
Is there any other software that does that other than Google, so you don't have to go to their?
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's what is it? Link Assistant. Let me see if I can find the name of it here. Okay, now I just repurchased it. Website Auditor is one of their tools. Let me see if I can find the name of the overarching company. PowerSuite. It's SEO PowerSuite. They've got 4 different tools, and it's not a cheap deal. You can get the light version, but one of their tools is it's a site to do audits. It's a website auditor. It's very detailed. I mean, it'll give you an 80-page report on every aspect of your site. Another tool that's in their bundle is called Rank Tracker, and it will track the rank of all of the keywords that you're ranking for. You can put a specific list of keywords that you want to track in there, and it will track it across all the search engines. And I believe it also tracks like local listings as well. And I'm pretty sure it will do like even YouTube video rank also. So it's a really good ranking tool. It's got another tool called SEO SpyGlass. And what SpyGlass is, that's for spying on your competitors and seeing like what they're doing, see how you compare, all that. And then their final tool, which is really cool, is Link Assistant. What Link Assistant is, you guys probably, if you're familiar with SEO at all, you know the importance of getting links, incoming links of high value. And what Link Assistant does is it helps you find places where you can get those links that are unique. Like in SEO, everybody uses the same links, and that's not what I consider a high quality link. That's not a high value link because everybody uses it. Directories are okay, but again, everybody uses them. The best link that you could get And it used to just be about the anchor text. It's not that way anymore. It used to be just whoever could get the most links with the same anchor text was going to kick butt for that keyword. And Google got smart to that. They started, devaluing that concept of exact match anchor text. But here is the best, in my opinion, the best possible link that you could get is from a site that holds your traffic, a site that holds your avatar, and putting content on that site that is highly relevant, highly valuable, with a click through to your website for more information. That, in my opinion, is your best by far type of link building that you can do. And it's called outreach link building. You're actually reaching out to another website owner and offering them content. So you have to find website owners that don't compete. They can't be competing, or they're not going to want to do that. But you find the ones that are not competing, that you share the same traffic sources or the same avatars, and you offer them content that's highly valuable that their customers would want. It gives them a good user experience. And then in turn for that, you get a link back to your site as the author of that article, and possibly for more information. So if you're in link building and you're not thinking in those terms, you should be. It could be hurting you if you're going against the grain as far as that goes. Because again, like I said, it's not about the way it used to be. It's not about just whoever has the most links is going to win anymore. It's also not about whoever has the most anchor text is going to win. It's about who has the most traffic. So if you've got, let's say you get 10,000 bogus links out there all over the internet, nobody clicks on them. And guess what? Google's working on artificial intelligence now. It knows that. It knows how many links you've got, and it knows how much traffic's coming across those links. So what's going to look better? 10,000 links with one person coming through, or 10 links with 1,000 people coming through? Google's, they've figured it out. So
won't a press release help you with that? If you have a good press release that gets on the publications that are in the industry?
A press release, having a press release is better than not having a press release, but it's not what I consider like a high value, high impact link anymore. It's one of the ones where everybody's doing it and Google's kind of devaluing it. It's a good thing to do, just as far as from a business perspective. So I wouldn't say not to do it. But if you're doing it as a specific SEO factor and you're looking to move the needle, it's not your best option. Again, it's a good thing to do. It's not like I'm saying don't do it. But if you're doing it only for SEO purposes, there's better things that you can spend your time on, and cheaper things you can spend your time on too. Because press releases, for you to get a good press release, it's going to cost you for the syndication. So if you're going to spend money, you might as well spend money hiring an outsourcer to find you good sites that will put your content on there.
Okay,
Yeah,
so those
do you have
target
a link for that outreach link building?
It's, if you just go to Google and put in
Yeah, it's not obvious.
let me see. I'll look it up here. I'm pretty sure I've got a link in here somewhere.
Oh, great. Thank you.
What?
Sorry to have interrupted.
No problem.
So finding it, so actually hiring an outsourcer to cherry pick good places to put referral content to people, to sites that are attractive to your avatar. That's, like you said, that, if you're only going to get 10 or 20 or 50 links, doing it that way, that's going to do it better than trying to get a press release out there to get some links and doing all this other crazy stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the days of the crazy stuff are kind of over. They really are. The smartest thing that Google ever did was move to AI. And it was brilliant on their part, because it's a way for them to weed out the garbage. And they really did that. You know, they were able to effectively weed out the garbage by doing that. So that again, it's the smartest thing I ever saw them do. And it's eliminated a lot of their problems. Okay, here I've got a couple of links that I found for the PowerSuite. I'll put them in the chat for you.
Thank you, John.
All right, there you go. I got the PowerSuite Pro and the Enterprise. The Enterprise is like, if you're commercially doing SEO, the Enterprise is probably worthwhile because it allows you to private brand the reports, but it's not cheap. It's like, if you're not doing it, if you're not getting paid to do this, that would kill you on the cost. But if you're getting paid and you're a professional SEO, it's probably worth it. That's it gives you the ability to actually send the reports to your clients or to your prospects. And you send somebody an 80-page analysis of their site, they're going to think you did some serious work to generate that when you literally just pushed a button. You put their domain in and hit the button and it did all the work for you. So you can also charge a fair amount of money to do that report for people. Because it's got a lot of detail. I mean, it's an awesome report, especially if they've got a big site. Like if they've got a big commerce site with thousands of pages, it won't be an 80-page report. It'll be hundreds of pages of report. And it will tell them everything they need to pay attention to inside that commerce site. So it's a pretty cool deal. Woody, you had your hand up there. You got to unmute though. We can only see you right now.
Unmute. Go ahead.
All right, I'm here.
There you go.
Did you get that photo I sent you of the giant whale under a boat?
If it's on social media, I probably haven't seen it yet.
Holy shit. I'll never go in your fucking boat, believe me.
Oh, you mean the one I put up this morning?
Well, I don't know, man. But anyway, I do have a question. You always keep us at the forefront. And we had an offer for GoPop from you. I signed up for the cheapest one.
Oh, Pop, yes.
But you said you would explain what it is. And
yeah, I'm gonna do
I don't have a clip that today at all, or
I'm gonna do a full video for all of the people that got in on that. We'll probably do it sometime early next week. And I'll go through like how to use it, how to set it up, what it does, all of that. It's an SEO tool. There's not really a lot of SEO tools left that really do well, because Google's figured out, what most of them do, and most of them automate garbage. What SitePop does is it automates real user activity of people running searches on Google, clicking through to your site. And it does it from real users' devices. So it's almost impossible to track down and put a footprint to it. So it's really a cool deal.
okay, great.
It's like we've got 10,000 unique phones in the network that are all running our apps. And during the day, it'll send a certain amount of signals out to those phones to run searches for you from those different users. So they'll run your keyword on their phone looking for you, click through. And again, it's all automated. Our app is doing all of it, but it's getting its signal, it's getting its instructions from our central server. So it's a pretty diabolical deal.
I'm in for diabolical any day.
Yeah. All right, back to Roger.
One more question, real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Would you recommend for the average user, someone who's not promoting SEO to everyone else, to use it as selling it? Would you recommend something like Yoast versus PowerSuite? PowerSuite.
What Yoast is an SEO plugin to help you do your on-page optimization. And it's a good thing to have for on-page optimization for sure. It's a totally different thing than the PowerSuite. PowerSuite is like a suite of external tools to help you with SEO, everything from analyzing your site, analyzing your competitors' sites, tracking your rank, and finding good links coming in. So it's kind of an external source package, where Yoast is an internal, just deal with your code, get your titles right. It'll help you evaluate your content and all that stuff. So Yoast is does a lot of stuff.
Okay.
So, and it's a good plugin. There's Yoast, there's All-in-One, and there's one called Rank Math. That's a really good one too. Most people haven't heard of that one, but that's a really good one. They don't typically get along well together though. So you pick one of them. Okay. When you're doing your WordPress, pick one SEO plugin. Don't like stuff a bunch of them in there, because they will conflict with each other, because they're all trying to do the same thing.
What was the last one that you said, the name? Rank
Math.
Math?
Math, M-A-T-H, like algebra, calculus, math.
Is Project Supremacy the same thing?
Yes, Project Supremacy, that I didn't even think to mention that one. That's another one from a good friend of mine. He made that years ago, and they keep doing updates to it. They've got a new SEO brainiac kind of behind the programming of it, and that's a really good one too. It's much broader than just SEO. I mean, it will do site monitoring, site backups, all that kind of stuff. But that one is a paid plugin, and it's a paid monthly service as well, where Yoast, I think you pay like once a year or something. And some of the others are actually free. So it just kind of depends if you want paid plugins or free plugins and all that. So, and in a lot of cases, you do get what you pay for. So. Okay, Roger, now there you go.
I want to take you over and tap your marketing expertise.
Okay.
In line with what you've done the past couple of weeks. So
hopefully I have some left.
Yeah. So let's say that you have a product which, with very slight nuance, appeals to different groups, similar-ish, but different groups. And you know that when you launch and are trying to get a toehold in the market, you really have to have a singular message. So you're focusing on a singular group. So if you do that, what do you put on your homepage? Do you talk to all the different groups that you may appeal to, or do you make it harder for the other groups to even see that you have an applicable offering and really focus on that primary group you're marketing to?
Gotcha. Okay. So that's a very common thing, having a product that serves multiple avatars and in even multiple markets. It's a very common thing. Where the problem lies is, how do you talk to all of them? And the answer is you don't try. So if you're going to put this on your homepage, typically what you want to do is you want to have the call outs for the different avatars so they can click and get to the right messaging. That would lead them to the landing page that speaks their language. If you're doing, and you all should be doing this, you should be doing some sort of advertising, whether it's free or referral or paid or whatever. You should be driving traffic actively to your websites. And when you do that, you have the ability to drive to specific pages. So let's say you had 10 different markets that you could sell the same product into. you would have 10 different landing pages. You would potentially have 10 different big ideas appealing to each one of those. And then on the home page, if you really wanted to mix the signals, you could put 10 boxes on there with 10 different pictures and titles, so they could self-select who they are. And then they could go there. Like, you know, there's products out there that soothe nerves, lose weight, get rid of joint pain, cure headaches, and all of that. So rather than trying to make this look like a miracle drug that does all that stuff, just say, what's your biggest problem today? Headache, menstrual cramps, weight loss, you know, can't lose that last 10 pounds, belly fat. And then they click on it and they go to the right landing page. It's the same
John,
product.
you hit on it. Right. But you just hit on the idea that they go to the website, they see 10 boxes, cures this, cures that. Then they instantly realize, oh, it's not a specialty product. You're marketing it as a cure-all thing. So is it a good idea to have the 10 boxes, or does your marketing expertise say, pick your main and then just hope landing pages on the others are hit once in a while?
Well, see, they don't know that it's the same product. When you're saying, you know, we've got the solution, what's your biggest pain today? They don't know that you have the same thing unless they go back and they click all 10 boxes, which, you know, there are some people that will do that. And they will figure out, oh, okay, well, this just apparently cures everything. And that in itself can cause disbelief, which that's your biggest enemy when it comes to conversion, is people not believing something. You know, they have to believe that what they're purchasing is right. You know, it's back to that whole idea of seduce the heart and then convince the head. If the head's not convinced, the heart ain't going to get what it wants. The head's not going to allow it. You know, it's a protection mechanism that's built into us as human beings to protect us. You know, it's self-preservation. You know, the heart sees and what it wants and falls in love really quickly, and the head steps in the way to try and keep the heart from getting broken. And, you know, that can wreak havoc literally on our lives. I mean, there's people that have been in therapy for years for that very thing. So it's the same in sales. It's the exact same thing. I always tell everybody, if you've done a good marketing campaign, you've grabbed attention, you've created demand and desire, you've created an amazing offer, the only thing that stands between you and a sale is going to be an objection. And every objection is based upon a belief. You know, they're going to have a belief one way or another, no matter how you slice it. They either believe this product is for them or they believe it's not. And that not can be based on any one of a number of things. They might believe that, well, you know, that might work for others, but it won't work for me. And that belief might be because they've tried something similar in the past, and it's an experiential belief. It might be because they had a brother or a cousin or an uncle that tried that and it didn't work for them. So if it didn't work for them, it's not going to work for me. That's, you know, that's not a direct experiential, but it's a transferred experiential. There's all kinds of places where they can form these beliefs. It could be just too good to be true. That's the case of, oh, this is a cure-all. It does all these things. Wow, bullshit. It can't. You know, that's just a pure, I don't believe it. I think you're full of crap. And that belief will keep them from purchasing.
Related topic then, believability. Let's say that you have that elixir and you say it cures X and Y and Z. To what degree do you offer that it cures it when you know that for some people it actually will, and for others it may move the ball down the field a little bit, but it won't cure it, right?
Well, you got to be careful. You have in that case, you have to be careful if you're dealing with something that cures. You need to choose your words wisely. Or I
don't mean legal. Pick anything where
yeah.
I don't want to get into the legal side. I want to get into the mindset of believability of claim.
Here is the absolute best way to make something believable, without a shadow of a doubt, is tell them why. Tell them how it works and why it works. Say it works because this is why it works. This is what it did for me. When you get into that, now you're convincing the head. You're bringing forth facts, figures, proof. And that's what the head needs to make a decision. In the absence of that, the head will sway to the not believing. When you convince the head, it will sway the other way. And once it believes, it will allow the heart to have what it wants. Because the heart, if you've put a promise out that the heart wants, and now you're battling the head to get it to allow it to have it. It's really just that simple. Like if you make a claim that something works, you have to back it up with proof. You know, it's the whole claim, proof, benefit statement. That's what, believe it or not, I learned that from Benjamin Franklin. There's a couple of other marketers in there that teach it, but I went back to the beginning and found out where it came from. I first heard it from Todd Brown, who was talking about how he used it for Ryan Dice's marketing. And I'm like, wow, I thought he was absolutely brilliant for coming up with that. But then I dug in and it wasn't him. It went all the way back to Benjamin Franklin. That claim, proof, benefit has been used for almost 300 years in advertising. And Benjamin Franklin, actually, that was the first place I could find it being used when he was selling his wood burning stove. And he admittedly told everyone that his stove was the worst product on the market. Yet he outsold the competition like they weren't even there because of his marketing prowess. He knew how to convince people. He knew how to change beliefs. He knew how to create a marketing campaign. And he did it with claim, proof, benefit. He made a claim contrary to your current belief, which is against the sale. He made a claim contrary to that. He backed it up with a couple of proof points that weren't just him saying it. It was proof, actual real proof from the market. And then he attached it to the benefit of the outcome, which is back now to what the heart wanted. And that's the formula. That's the formula to inverse any belief and in the same sentence eliminate any objection. Because remember, I said every objection is based on a belief. So if you now have the formula to eliminate those beliefs, you can eliminate any objection. You just have to understand what it is. Like that's the hardest part, to really get a true understanding of what the beliefs are in your prospect's head. And that comes from the analysis piece. If you get that, you go through the whole routine of what could they possibly be thinking. You know, the whole exercise of what are they hearing, seeing, feeling. That's going to tell you what their beliefs are. That's going to tell you what their objections probably are going to be. If you've got live people, if you've got, real customers, and let's say you had a customer that almost didn't buy your stuff, or they didn't buy it for a long time, and then all of a sudden now they bought it. You can go back and talk to them and say, what was holding you back? What held you back for so long? Or if you've got a new prospect in front of you and they say no, that's your best thing right there. If you're making a pitch to somebody and they don't accept your offer, if you get to the point where you've laid out your case, you've told them what it was, you told them how it worked, you told them why it was good for them, you did it all, and then you say, would you like to move forward with that now? And they say no. This is your golden opportunity to find out why. Find out what that belief is. And you ask them just like this. You just say, what's holding you back? And what they're going to do is they're going to give you an answer, but it's not going to be the right one. It's going to be superficial. They're just trying not to deal with the situation. They're just going to throw anything out. It might be, I got to talk to my wife, or, whatever. I don't have the money, whatever. It's not the real objection. So what you do, because you want to get to that real objection. So what you do is you acknowledge what they just said. You say, I totally get that. Totally understand. I'm with you there. But other than that, if that weren't an issue, would you be ready to move forward, or is there something else? And then they're going to tell you what the real deal is. And then once they say that one, again, you want to follow the same process. Other than that, is there anything else? And you want to get them all out on the table, because you don't want to come back and play this game again. You want to know what you're up against. And then once it's out on the table, you just put the formula to work. You take each one, you isolate each one, and you go back to it. And you make a claim that's contrary to the belief that's creating that objection. You follow it up with proof. You tie it back to the benefit. You do that 1, 2, 3, however many of those objections are out on the table. And now the person understands. It was just a misunderstanding. They didn't get it completely. The head didn't have enough facts. And now you ask them, now that that's all out, would you like to move forward? It's almost a 99% chance they're going to say, yeah, absolutely. That's how a real good salesperson works. And it's not evasive. It's not intrusive. When they do it, it seems like they actually care. They're very rare to find somebody that has that skill set level to interact with a person and not offend them, and really get down to what their deal is and explain it. That's all you're doing. You're just trying to help them. You know, if you're trying to sell them something that's not going to help them, you're a schmuck. So that's not going to fit the scenario. But if you've got something that truly would help them and you don't explain it properly, you're not doing them a good service. You're really hurting them. So it's, you know, think of it like this. If you truly had the cure for cancer, and there was a little girl that had cancer, and you knew she was going to die without this cure, and you know, she's not your customer, her parents are your customer. You need to explain to them why this is going to save her life. How hard would you fight for her? How hard would you go to work to try and get them to understand this was the right thing for them to do to save their little girl? Yeah. Think about it like that. And you've got all the tools at your disposal to do that job. You know, that's all the stuff that I've got in the ACT program. It's all the tools that you need to do this, all of this. You know, figuring out the big idea, how to grab their attention, how to seduce their heart, how to create that demand and desire by using the promises that come out of the analysis. It's all there. How to eliminate the objections. We just covered that one pretty much in depth. Create an amazing offer. I mean, there's only so many pieces to the puzzle, but most people don't do them. They don't put in the work, and it's not easy. You know, it looks easy and it sounds easy when I explain it, but you know, sit your ass down and give it a shot. You'll find out it's not easy. It's a lot of work. The first time, it is an incredible amount of work. Once you do it though, and you get it, you have some success with it, the second time you want to do it, it's going to be a whole lot easier. And the third time, the fourth time, pretty soon it's going to seem effortless. You know, it's like for an infant trying to walk. It's impossible, right? They look at that, they don't even know where to start. But they do it in stages. You know, they first learn how to roll over, and then they learn how to hold their head up, and then they learn how to kneel and crouch and crawl. And then, you know, they'll take a step and they'll fall down. And, you know, the next thing you know, they're running around the house wreaking havoc, not even looking back. They don't even remember the struggle. It's just they're there now. This is the same thing. It's taking all those little steps, and it's painful. You know, they fall down, they get hurt. You're going to do the same thing. It's going to be a very rough road. So, you know, and if you don't do it, you're just going to lay there and crawl forever. You roll around and cry and hope somebody feeds you, and you're going to be miserable. It's no way to go through life. That's why infants grow up so fast. They don't want to be like that. They want to, kids want independence badly. And as entrepreneurs, we are just like that. The ones that are willing to lay back and just have somebody feed them, those are the people that are going to work for somebody for the rest of their life. They tried, they struggled, they gave up. They're just gonna remain in the cradle for the rest of their days and hope somebody takes care of them. And I personally can't even imagine that. So anyway, I hope that answers your question.
Hey, John.
Yeah. Hey, Janie, how's it going?
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm so glad to see you. I haven't been getting your email, so should I call Barbara?
Oh, you're not getting the emails for the calls?
No.
Okay, let me look and see if you're blocked by Kartra.
Oh, okay.
I'll-
Last time that happened. By the way, today is my Amazon Kindle campaign for the
cool.
Your Amazing Itty Bitty Self-Care book.
Oh, cool.
So if anybody's interested, I can put it in the chat.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome to put it in there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I love these little tidbits. There was one thing you mentioned that you're running a security check. What was the name of that?
Oh, that's most server companies can run that. It's called a virus scan.
Oh, okay.
So if you contact whoever's hosting your website, tell them just you're concerned with security and you want them to run a virus scan on your site.
Okay. And someday it'll be you as soon as I can get around to it. Right?
And they'll do that. They'll run it, and then they'll come back and give you a report if there's anything that they find that's fishy.
Yeah.
And then you give that to your webmaster and say, I think we need to fix this pronto.
Okay. All right. I'll watch for your email. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to go in and look and see why you're not getting the email. Kartra sometimes blocks people, so if that's the case, I'll put in a support ticket for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You got
John, Gwen had her hand up.
Oh, Gwen. She's still with us there. Hey, Gwen.
I'm with you, but I gave up.
Oh, sorry about that. Sometimes I don't.
Oh, no worries.
I got little boxes all over the screens. They don't stand out sometimes.
Right. Thank you for whoever commented that. I didn't recognize the voice right off. Okay. Well, thank you. Basically, the client we've had for 3 months is going through that whole problem with the proof benefit, where she's seeing some proof, but now she's growing and she doesn't have the manpower.
Ooh.
So now she's freaking out.
Uh-oh.
One of the clients we have, we've done it for 3 months, the Tierra Mia Organics.
Yeah.
So she's wanting to quit because she's got a big order with one of her resellers or wholesalers, and she's not making enough to hire more people. And I'm thinking, well, that's not my fault. That's a pricing fault. But I'm going to meet with her on Monday, and I kind of get your claim proof benefit. And it's like we have to reconnect with her heart and get past her head again. Because I've reframed it and framed it, at the beginning. It's going to take a while. It takes a while. And now she's like, but I've only got a few going to my website. And I'm like, yes, but it raises everybody. So I'm asking for any tips before I talk to her on Monday. Sure. But I'm going to look at her sales and kind of see why exactly she's freaking out and if there's ways we can help her.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring that up, because I just had a client like a couple of days ago. He sent me an email and he says, I got to stop all my marketing. And I responded with, why, what's happening? Is it a health issue or whatever? And he said, no, he said, he's from the pool industry. He's one of the pool guys that bought, when I presented to the pool industry. And he's like, no, he goes, I've got too many clients. I've got people calling me. I can't even deal with it. And I started laughing. I said, well, that's a much better problem than you had when we started, right?
Exactly.
And I said, here's the thing, problems present, that all it is call for a solution. Why don't you sell your leads to one of the other pool guys that's struggling and pay for your own marketing? Then you get free marketing. And he's like, wow, I never thought about that. But in your case, they're probably coming in for product, and you're not going to be able to refer them out. But what you want to do with that is, have the conversation with them that just like this turned on, it can turn off. And you remember how long it took us to get here? You don't want to start over. And so that's an angle that you can approach with that, because SEO traffic and customers, it's a building process.
I've told her that over and over.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find different ways to connect with their heart again.
Okay.
And then going back to the brain, because right now the brain's freaking out. So it's a matter of connecting, getting the vision again and connecting with her heart again, I think. And then
is it because
explaining again?
Yeah.
Pardon?
Is she freaking out because she can't create the product fast enough, or what's the real problem?
From what I'm gathering, the real problem is she's selling more to her wholesalers than what she's selling directly, and she's not making enough to hire enough people to make the product that she's selling to her wholesalers. So I'm thinking it's a pricing problem.
Okay. Yeah,
but
that's certainly what it sounds like. Because
that's, oh, I got to sneak back there.
Yeah, no.
Come back, Grace. You can say hi.
That's one of the things. I mean, if you're selling product, hi Gracie. if
now she's sneaking away.
If you're selling product and there's not enough profit in it for you to maintain your business and support that with additional staff, that's a problem.
That's what I'm thinking her problem is.
Because, as business owners, we don't want to do all the work. We want to own the business. If she's doing all the work and she's overrun, and there's not enough money at the end of the day for her to hire somebody and step out of the way, that's definitely problematic. That's not a business. She's created a job for herself and she's boxed herself in. So if you want to speak to her heart, talk about getting her out of that box. I bet you she's not in business to be in that box. That's not what her heart wanted.
Right.
So there's more information on that in Robert Kiyosaki's book, Quadrant. And I would recommend, you know what I would do? I would give her a written, say, look, I'm really excited to meet with you Monday. Why don't you tell me the top 5 problems you got and your top 5 solutions so I can really hone in on serving you. But Robert Kiyosaki says, look, like John said in the beginning, if you've been damaged too much, then you want to work for others forever. But if you go boldly forward, and then you can be your savior and say, look, another thing we say in real estate to the agents is, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And no one's got time for that bullshit.
That's pretty much where she is.
Yeah. So that's going to be your heartfelt talk is going to be there. And the thing is, she's almost there. She's almost where she wanted to be. When you don't have enough orders and you don't have enough customers, that's when a business owner has to do it all themselves. Now she's at that cusp where she could actually make the transition and get out of being the day laborer and actually be the business owner. You know,
That's a good point to
and-
make for her too, that she's right on that cusp.
yeah. I mean, we've come this far. Let's not turn back now.
Yeah, and we've only been at it 3 months, so it's like, and I've told her, give us 6 months, and
But
said 3 months you should see results, but 6 months is what it really takes.
here's another thing too. This is a woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
So remember back to the core drivers is security for women. So
True.
So security here, there's uncertainty and change. So whenever there's uncertainty, security goes out the window. So the fact that he's looking at hiring somebody possibly for the first time, that's an uncertain thing. That's an uncertain time. So her security, the very driver of her being, is being, it's being questioned. It's under attack. So keep that in mind when you're talking to her. That's what I was talking about earlier, figuring out what the real objections are, the real underlying drivers, so you can properly address those. And you don't want to belittle them. You don't want to, you have to acknowledge it. When you acknowledge it, they know what they're feeling. And then they're going to bond with you, and they'll be much more likely to follow you out of the tunnel back into the light.
And that's what I'm hoping to do.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that will help. But really, speaking their language, understanding where they're at, understanding, what the real objection is, why it's an objection, what their belief is about it. Why, if hiring someone is a problem, why is that a problem? Is there not enough money to go around? If there's not enough money to go around, that's a broken business model. The pricing isn't there. And if that's the case, she's got a couple of choices to make. She can remain as it is and be a hamster in the rat wheel and never really make much money and have to work hard her whole life, which that's not very appealing to the heart. Or she can make a couple of changes. If people are buying her stuff like hotcakes, supply and demand is a common law in business. That means that the demand is higher, So if that's the case, you can raise the price to control the demand. You can make more money in less time by just increasing the price. If you go back into the ACT program, if you go back, there's actually charts on that where I talk about, figuring out who your ideal customer is and looking at like where your income comes from. I don't know if you remember those charts or not. But
yes, I've got them. Actually, I've got them handy. There's
pie charts about the 80-20 rule. and what happens if you eliminate 20% of your worst customers. It actually makes you more money and gives you a lot more time. It's amazing how the numbers work out, how little income you lose by throwing a whole bunch of people out the window.
And the other thing I was thinking was doing the cost analysis of how much you have to sell to break even, and getting an idea so she knows where she stands. And she has a plethora of products, so it's a matter of which ones are worth really focusing on too, possibly.
Yeah. There's a whole nother, business conversation that comes up that, when you have money, problems are a lot easier to solve. And when you have business that creates problems, at least you've got the money to solve them. Whereas if you don't have customers and you don't have sales, then when you have problems, you don't have the money to deal with it. So the problem either remains or gets bigger. And it's a lot harder to work with those problems.
Right. Woody's waving his hand there.
What do you got for us, Woodrow?
Johnny, you know, we bought a gadget. I live in a little house. It's only 1,200 square feet, but my modem is in the back room. And not only did we buy a gadget for me, we bought one for Tammy, because on a lot of my calls, you know, it's always this wavering vocal. You know, I'll be listening to you, and all of a sudden, bah, 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 bah.
It's the stutters.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
stutters. So, what is the name of the piece of shit we bought
It's
that don't work?
Amazon
Is it a repeater?
Eco or something like that.
Yeah,
It
Eco
has-
Wi-Fi repeater.
Yeah, it's security repeater or whatever.
It's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And you know, that's 300. I think it was 160 each. So 320 plus tax. But what is the answer, oh great one?
They have the repeater has to be close enough to the original signal to pick it up and amplify it and pass it on.
It is. It's 2 feet away.
Okay. Well, it might be too far away from where you want to get to. So if your Wi-Fi router is in one spot, you want to put that repeater, you know, somewhere about halfway at the halfway point. Because the whole job, if it's picking it up like 2 feet away from the original source and broadcasting it, it's not going to go much further than the original source.
Woody, can you run hardwire to where your location is from your modem? Do you have access to like to attic space or anything like that?
I could drill all.
Yeah. See, when I built my condo out, because I had the walls open, I ran Cat 6 everywhere. So I can move to the next room over here and plug a hardwire into the wall. But most people don't have access to get into the walls to do that. But sometimes you have, like, if you can run a wire underneath your basement, they have outside wire you can run around the house to the room you're going to, and then put another router in that room.
Get Eric to it.
Oh, Cap 5.
Internet stuff. Internet.
I use Cap 5 under the house in my crawl space.
I've used I've used Cat 6, not Cat 5, because the Cat 6 they have now that they have outdoor or indoor. And I use the outdoor because they have an outdoor brand of it that can run underground and it won't harm it.
No, in my crawl space.
Yeah. Run it through your crawl space. If you got a crawl space, and then just stick it up through the floor where you got it coming out. And if you're broadcasting, like we're broadcasting on this, I always run hardwire. For 8 years, I've run a hardwire to my computer every time.
Yeah.
All right, we're on it. Thank you, folks.
You bet. If you lived in Dallas, Texas, I'd come over and do it for you in 10 minutes. But yeah, you don't live here.
Come visit. Picture too.
You'll be in LA again, Tim. I know it. You're a focus guy. So should we return it or run the wire? Because I'm ready to go to war with Amazon.
I would return it and run the wire if you can.
Yeah.
Because like Tim said, I mean, there's nothing like having a hardwire right to the source.
All right.
I actually did that in my living room. I've got our router is in one of the back offices, and my office is out in the front of the house, and our TV where we watch TV through the Fire Stick is out in our living room, and it was constantly buffering. We couldn't get good signal to the TV. So I actually drilled a couple holes and ran the thing, through and put another router out in the living room.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much the middle of the house, and that solved the problem. I
have this here. I could run and wire hard to this, and then I could run a whole nother Wi-Fi system. You know what I mean? This is the Apple one. And you know what I mean? Basically it's an extension. And for the price you're paying for these repeaters, you can go buy one of these great modems and just link one modem off another.
Yeah. And especially if he wants to, in the future, be running a podcast, he's going to need all of this to be seamless, like no stuttering, no nothing.
Yeah. You either, with Wi-Fi, you either need to be near the source or hardwire. That's basically your answer.
Un-Wi-Fi.
I have a client, same thing. She's dealing with the Wi-Fi off of her landlord in a back cottage, and it's like, it sucked. And I just like, you're going to have to run a hardwire from your landlord's house back there and fix it.
Yeah.
Thank you, geniuses.
That's the truth there. All right. Anything else here before we wrap up for today?
John, one last thought from Richard over here.
Okay.
Would you, it's been a week. Are you going to get a chance to give the script I emailed over to you a browse through in the next day or so?
Yep. I'm going to get on that one for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, guys. Well, have a great week. Hopefully everybody had a great 4th of July and all of that. And we're halfway through the year. So I know there was a big emphasis on making 2021 better than 2020. So hopefully you guys are on track. We can get into that a little bit more next week, but we're at the halfway point now. So it's time to pour the coals to it. Get those marketing campaigns together. Get your big ideas. Work through the program. We need to get you up walking and running. No more of this crawling stuff.
We'll act on it, John.
Act on it. Exactly. All right, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you.
We
Be
will
safe,
talk
everybody.
to you next week.